everyone, Darkside Phil here, and welcome to another edition of the Hateful Truth video game review series, where I give you maximum truth and minimum bullshit regarding the latest video game releases. And the game we're going to talk about today is actually a direct sequel to a game that I absolutely loved 2 years ago. It actually made my top 10 games of the year and almost won Game of the Year that year. A game that is a fun open world romp experience, but in this next iteration, the big question that everyone has on their mind is this game better than the last one? What are the improvements? What changed? Is it a Game of the Year contender? Well, in this review, I hope to at least give you my personal opinions based off of my experiences and my direct experience playing the last game 2 years ago and absolutely loving it. The game we're going to be talking about today is Far Cry 4. I actually played it on the PlayStation 4, okay? And so before we even get started, let's just get one thing out of the way. The visuals of Far Cry 4 are great. 30 frames per second, yes, only runs at 30 frames. But because of that, the game is able to run at a full 1080p resolution. The graphics are incredibly detailed, amazingly complex. The character models of the characters based in the story look great. Yes, there is some generic character models when it comes to the generic enemies and stuff, but the animals, the wildlife that you fight in this game, some of the leopards and the wolves and giant elephants look amazingly photorealistic to the point where it's like, holy shit, this is pretty wild, okay? All that being said, I just want to get that out of the way. The real focus of Far Cry 4 and the thing that everyone talks about is the gameplay versus the story. What's good, what's bad, what's been improved, what's different from Far Cry 3. So if you guys remember my playthrough of Far Cry 3 from a couple years ago, I loved the game. I actually took almost the entire month of December to play through the game piece by piece, to do every little piece of side content. I unlocked every single one of the radio towers. I took over every one of the enemy camps. I found all the hidden loot throughout the game, unlocked all the locations, and yeah, it took me quite a long time, but at the same time, I enjoyed myself the whole time. And then finally, when I completed the story, it was like, wow, the story was great, it was engrossing, it was fun, and I could have just totally played through this game just enjoying the story, and it would have been enough. But the fact that they've added in all of this amazingly varied side content, the hunting, and all this stuff is amazing. And I thought it was one of the best games of the year. Far Cry 4 is pretty much par for the course when it comes to that. In fact, it may even be a little bit too much par for the course. And what I mean by that is all that stuff that you remember doing in Far Cry 3 is present in Far Cry 4. Now, I'm not just saying that, I mean like it's copied and pasted. When you're climbing the radio towers in Far Cry 4, it feels exactly like the ones you climbed in Far Cry 3. When you're doing the hunting missions, it feels almost identical. When you're taking over the enemy camps, it's like, I kind of feel like I did all this before. And the bottom line is, if you played Far Cry 3, excuse me, you have done all this before. What a lot of people are actually saying is that this isn't really Far Cry 4, this is Far Cry 3.5, where they just took the game engine from Far Cry 3, copied it and pasted it, put on nice visuals on top of it, slapped on a rushed story, and here's a new game 2 years later, and a lot of people are saying it doesn't seem like it's its own identity. In some cases and in some ways I agree and in some ways I disagree, so allow me to explain. Far Cry 4 takes place in the country of Kyrati, which is near India, supposedly. A lot of the people who live there are of a similar Indian descent, or sound, I can tell the voice actors probably were either Middle Eastern or Indian, because they have that kind of, that inflection in their voice, that accent in their voice. And it's a story of political unrest. No surprise here, because Far Cry has pretty much always been like that since Far Cry 2, where you've got an evil dictator named Pagan Min who is taking over the country, and there's two warring factions. The Golden Path rebels, who are basically trying to fight against the oppressive regime of Pagan Min, and then you've got the military who are working for Pagan Min and trying to restore order in the country. And of course, just like in Far Cry 3, you're going to just be walking around this huge open world map. You're going to come across random instances where the two sides are fighting, and you can choose which side to help. Most of the time you want to help the Golden Path, because that actually helps you have good karma in the game and unlocks further abilities, weapons, etc. by doing things to help out the Golden Path. So really, the plot picks up when your mother passes away, and she leaves you a final message saying, you probably know absolutely nothing about your heritage or anything about back home in Kyrati where we came from, but please take my ashes there, and you'll find out a whole bunch of stuff about what's going on there when you arrive. As soon as he arrives, unfortunately, he gets involved in a firefight. Pagan Min shows up, takes him out of the bus that he was traveling in, and says, come to my palace. I actually knew your mom. I was good friends with her. While he's at the palace, all of a sudden a firefight erupts outside. Pagan Min gets distracted. These Golden Path rebels break in, supposedly rescue you, even though it's kind of weird because were you a guest or were you being rescued is not really clear. All you know is that Pagan Min is some kind of an eccentric homicidal maniac according to the Golden Path. Once the Golden Path rescue you, you are then introduced to two different options. Basically two rival leaders within the Golden Path rebels who are looking to take this organization in a different direction. There's Sabal, who is the more traditional person. He's all about the culture and the religions of Kyrati and preserving them and taking the Golden Path supposedly in a more righteous and more traditional direction. Then there's Amida. She's a strong female lead who basically wants to take the Golden Path in a different direction, to abandon all of that stuff of the past, to use the country's resources, which unfortunately in a lot of cases involve drugs and trafficking and stuff like that, to give the Golden Path more money so that they could take over the country and take it into a new era of prosperity rather than dwelling on the traditions and the culture and the religions of the past. And really, that's where the storyline of Far Cry 4 comes into play. Do you want to go with the more traditional choices of Sabal, or do you want to go with the more possibly risky, but possibly dangerous, but maybe the right thing for the country, and going less traditional and going with Amida as the leader? Several times during the course of the gameplay, you'll be given a choice. Do you want to go with Sabal's version of a mission or Amida's version of a mission? And it's never clear whether or not one version is better than the other. Maybe one is to destroy a drug field and the other one is to preserve the drug field and take it over from the military so that you can sell the drugs and the Golden Path can make more money. And it's like, well, gee, I don't know. It's like it's the lesser of two evils or the best of two. What was the right moral decision? And it's really hard to determine if there is a real proper moral decision. So that's really the path that you take during the course of the game, and based on which you choose will actually open up different mini plot lines and also open up different missions along the course of the game, although ultimately most of the missions are the same until about the end of the game when maybe there's one or two missions that are a little bit different. Ultimately, at the end of the game, you get to decide what happens with these leaders as well. Or if you eventually want to side with Pagan Min, I'm not going to spoil what happens in any of the situations. And the thing is, I haven't spoiled because guess what? They're all different. Like, literally every situation can be different. In my particular version, I ended up siding with one person, and then I ended up seeing them after the end of the game. There was like a cool Easter egg scene that gave away that maybe the person that I had chosen maybe wasn't the right choice, but it's not clear. So, dependent on your choices, you mold the actual plot line of Far Cry 4, and that's pretty neat. But outside of that main plot line, the other characters and stories are incredibly weak. First of all, Pagan Min as an antagonist is terrible. He's nowhere near as good as the charismatic, enigmatic, and just crazy homicidal Voss from Far Cry 3. Remember Voss blew us away. Some people said, wow, best villain of the decade, he's just so interesting. Pagan Min is just fucking boring. It's like they just dressed a dude up eccentrically, made him act a little bit like a crazy maniac, and that was it. And really, he doesn't have, you do eventually find out some of his motivations and things by the end of the game, but there's really no ultimate wow factor, no real substance to his character. He's literally just there to have a heel to push the story along and have a reason for the Golden Path Rebels to even exist, okay? The other supplementary characters, including a couple of druggy stoners that just keep getting you high and you go on psychedelic trip missions. Herc, who was present in Far Cry 3, for some reason is present in Far Cry 4, and I'll be honest, I didn't particularly like him that much in Far Cry 3, because he just seemed like forced comic relief, and here he's just more of the same, and his missions just seem superfluous. There's also a religious nut gun runner, that's right, someone named Longinus, who actually worships guns, and guns are his religion, and you can do missions for him to unlock new weapons and stuff like that. But, for the most part, the plot line is incredibly simple. You almost never even see Pagan Min. Most of the interaction you're going to have with him is through like a walkie-talkie, where he, every once in a while when you do a story mission, he'll chime in after the mission, wow, you're a dick, you're really doing some stupid stuff against me, or something like that. It's just not very good. And honestly, you could probably play through the entire game doing all this side content and not realize that the story even exists, because that's how kind of glossed over it really is, until after several hours of you doing whatever you want, all of a sudden, well, I guess I should do a story mission to see if I can unlock more content. And that's where I really think is a major difference between Far Cry 3 and 4 is the story. The story of Far Cry 3 was far superior, had supernatural elements and really interesting things. in it, interesting characters that you cared about. In this game, the characters are kind of throwaway. Some of them are just not interesting. They're kind of stupid, poorly written, boring, and just are in the story to say there's more characters rather than them actually progressing the story. And the story isn't very well written either. And for me, you guys know me, I love great gameplay, but I also love a narrative experience, and to see that the narrative experience was kind of pushed to the side in Far Cry 4 to make room for more gameplay, that's kind of sad. Now, you heard what I just said. It was pushed to the side to make room for more gameplay, and you might say to yourself, but Phil, Far Cry 3 had like tons of gameplay. Didn't your playthrough have almost like 200 parts? It was incredibly long. You know, you're saying there's more gameplay in Far Cry 4 than in Far Cry 3? Yes, there's insane amounts of side content gameplay, whether it's liberating the bases, unlocking the radio towers, looking for hidden treasure in caves, looking for these hidden haunted masks that supposedly possess people, going on these side content trips for Longinus or the druggy guys or Herc, and then there's actually a whole other area off of the main map called the Himalayas where there's these snowy mountains that you can do side content missions in. The map of Far Cry 4 is incredibly fucking huge. It's like one of the biggest maps I've ever seen in my life, especially for a free roaming game. It's just insanely large. The good news is there's fast travel once you unlock the bases. Yes, their vehicles are prominent and they're everywhere. You can drive them around. The wingsuit makes an appearance. Remember, it was in certain parts of Far Cry 3. That's back, as well as the hang glider. That's back. So even though this is a huge, expansive world with tall mountains and caves and everything, you can pretty much still get around the world pretty quickly if you need to. Now, similarly to Far Cry 3, when I was starting to play Far Cry 4, I ended up getting caught up in the side content. Whether it was, oh, I gotta hunt these wild animals and skin them for pelts to craft new items for my inventory and make the game easier for me. Oh, I want to go help the Golden Path Rebels so I can unlock more morality missions and give me more sway. Maybe they'll sell me better weapons, or I can unlock more money so I could buy stuff. Eventually in this game, you actually get a house that you can upgrade, and once you upgrade the house, it gives you free things like free body armor or a free gyrocopter. Yeah, that's like a mini helicopter that you can use to fly around the map in this game, even though it is kind of difficult to control, just to warn everyone. And just to warn you again, the wonky driving controls from Far Cry 3 return in Far Cry 4, although admittedly, there is an option in the menu to go to more traditional first-person shooter driving controls. I said, I'm going to go with what's the default, because that's what they intend you to use, and it is wonky, and at times it can get frustrating. But there's an insane amount of side content in Far Cry 4. But here's the difference between Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 4. When I was playing Far Cry 3 and I was doing all the side content, it was the first time that you could skin crazy amounts of animals in a first-person setting. It was the first time where you could use chain execution, stealth kills and stuff to kill everyone at an outpost. You know what I mean? It was a first-time thing, so it was exciting. In Far Cry 4, when you're doing all this side content, you literally feel like you're playing Far Cry 3. It's the same thing. It doesn't feel like it's any improved. It doesn't really feel like it's been streamlined. It's just the same gameplay with a facelift visually. And you're like, I feel like I played this game already 2 years ago. And so, initially when I started playing Far Cry 4, yeah, I was getting caught up in the side content or whatever. And then after several hours of that, I started saying, alright, I want to go back to the story. And then I kind of found myself never going back to the side content because it just wasn't interesting to me anymore. If there was some completely new stuff in this game that blew me away, yeah, then maybe I would have said, I would love to do it. But it's really all the same stuff you've already done. The one real major exception I can even effing think of is that you can ride an elephant. Okay, so you can jump on an elephant, ride it, and shoot while you're on it and have it charge into people, and that's it. So after the gimmick wears out, after you do it a couple of times, you're kind of like, that wasn't that big of a deal, right? So what's the big deal? Now, there are some other modes in the game. For example, there is the ability to do drop-in, drop-out two-player co-op with a friend. So if you want to do a two-player experience instead of a single-player romp, you can. In addition, there is a multiplayer mode, but I never checked it out. I never really had any inkling to play the game in multiplayer. Now, there might be people out there, oh, I played multiplayer, it blew me the fuck away. I haven't heard one single person who played Far Cry 4 talk about the multiplayer at all. 0 people have mentioned it. I don't think anyone's even bothering with it because, let's face it, the game is focused on a single-player FPS exploration experience, and it shouldn't have to be a focus that there's multiplayer in the game. I never checked it out, I never will, and it's not going to be a factor in my review. I hope you guys understand that, okay? So, really, when I look at Far Cry 4, what I have to do is I have to weigh and balance a few things. I say the graphics are outstanding. Amazing. Like, blew me away. Loved the graphics, okay? the fact that there is the insane amount of content that there is in this game. I could see, probably if you did all the side content in here, it would probably take you like anywhere from, I'd say, 40 to 60 hours. And I'm not shitting you. If you did every single unlock mission, you went for every single item, you got every single pelt, you did all of the explorations, you did all the rescue missions, the assassination missions, everything. There's just a lot of content in this game. It could take you a significant amount of time. The question is, if you already played Far Cry 3 and you've been there, done that, are you going to want to even bother with it or say, I already did it, I did it 2 years ago, I don't feel like doing it again? On the flip side, if you didn't play Far Cry 3, and this is your first Far Cry game, you may be blown away and say, wow, this is a lot of fun. And I think that's going to be the dichotomy that you see here. Some people are going to love the game because they didn't play the one previous in the series that's incredibly similar. And some people are going to have played the old one and say this isn't enough of originality. And really what it is for me is, it's a major step forward when it comes to what you can do with an open world in an FPS game. The amount of content, the expansiveness of the map. There's almost no loading in this game unless you're loading a story mission, by the way. So just going free roam throughout the world is amazing. There's, you can easily go around and almost never have anything load. These animals will constantly be attacking you. Eagles come out of the sky and grab your arm. You gotta fucking shake them off, and leopards will be jumping out. Everything's out to kill you, just like in Far Cry 3, and that's a cool surprise element. But the bottom line is, Far Cry 4 is the same game as Far Cry 3 with a facelift and a much worse story and characters. And for me to come off of an amazing, fun experience like Far Cry 3, and 2 years later have a game that seems like it was a little bit maybe phoned in and rushed. They didn't really put a lot of the effort that they did into Far Cry 3, that they just wanted to take the same engine and rush it and give it a facelift and bring it out again. I can see why some people call this game Far Cry 3.5. And so in that regard, it is actually a little disappointing for me, because I was looking for more. I'm not saying the game's bad, I'm just saying when I already played an outstanding game 2 years ago, why is the next game in the series seem to be worse? So, overall, I did enjoy Far Cry 4, okay? I think that, again, anyone who loves first-person shooter experiences is going to like the game regardless. The gameplay is highly addictive. The question is going to be, how long can you do it before you get bored of it, or you just feel like you're just doing a gameplay for gameplay's sake versus gameplay that's innovative and fun, especially if you've played Far Cry 3, you've already done this, so maybe it's not going to be as fun as it was for you like back then, and that's kind of how I felt. First I was like, wow, this is great, and I'm like, wait, I already did this. After 8 hours of gameplay, I just want to get to the story and end the game. But I'm not saying it's bad. It's a ton of content for your buck. It's definitely well done, especially because, the engine of Far Cry 3 was great, so obviously if they use the same engine, then Far Cry 4's gameplay engine is great too. And I definitely recommend it if you're looking for a great first-person shooter this season, and you're not looking for something that's competitive like Call of Duty. This game is going to give you a better campaign experience than Call of Duty will this year, absolutely. But can I recommend it to everyone? And the answer is probably not. Anyone who played Far Cry 3 probably won't like it. If you're not into massive first-person shooter gameplay, you probably won't like it. And if you're looking for a great narrative experience, you're probably going to be bored of it. So it's got a lot of negatives going for it. But weighing and balancing everything that I can say positive and negative about Far Cry 4, I'm going to give the game an 8.25 out of 10. It's not way up there Game of the Year material like the last installment was, but it is pretty good. It's definitely a recommendation for first-person shooter fans. Don't miss out if you're on the fence about it. I say it's worth it to check it out. You're going to get your money's worth out of it at least. But if you played Far Cry 3 and you're looking for something amazing, and wow, this is the next step in the series, this probably isn't it. This seems like more of like a distraction or a sideline than a new progression in the series, and I'm interested to see what the hell they're going to do with Far Cry 5, because if it is more of the same again, I don't think people are going to put out their hard-earned money for it this time. They want something new and different, at least some kind of improvements, and please give us a better story this next time, because those characters in this one were really lame. We want new stuff. Give us Voss or something on that level, and we'll come back every year. This one, not so good, not as good, but it is still a good game. Alright. That's it for the Hateful Truth review of Far Cry 4. I hope you felt that I gave you maximum truth, minimum bullshit. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later for another episode of the Hateful Truth video game review series. Peace out, everybody.